We're growing the economy to create more jobs and better opportunities for Kiwis. We're hustling out there on the world stage to deliver new trade deals for exporters, and we're getting rid of the RMA to clear away decades of red tape. Building the future means maintaining disciplined spending so that money that you work so hard for is wisely spent and not wasted. And it means building the schools and the roads and the hospitals that you rely upon in your community. Yes, it means replacing NCEA so that New Zealand kids get the skills that they need to grow and your child gets an even better shot at a future life. And it means increasing KiwiSaver contributions so that you and your family can be more financially secure in retirement. Fixing the basics and building the future is about a basic promise that National made at the last election. And that was quite simply that if you work hard, you get your kids to school and make the right choices for your future and your family and your community, then you deserve to get ahead. And at this election, National will renew that promise. So today, I'm continuing the recent tradition of setting the election date early in the year to ensure that New Zealanders have certainty. And so with that, I can announce that the 2026 election will take place on Saturday, the 7th of November. With National, New Zealanders get a party with a plan to fix the basics and to build the future for all Kiwis and for all generations to come. And we've proven that we can deliver on it. The alternative, a Labour to Pāti Māori Greens government, would send New Zealand backwards again. A capital gains tax would be just the start of policies that punish Kiwis for doing the right thing about saving and investing. Because you can always be sure that after Labour spends everything they've got, they will come straight for more of your own money. And with Labour at the helm, New Zealanders get the same team that left an ungodly mess by spending way too much, focusing on the wrong issues, not delivering, and making mistakes that made many Kiwi families worse off. The economy is recovering, and National's plan to fix the basics and build the future is delivering results for you and your family. Now is not the time to put all of that at risk. In a recovery like the one that we're experiencing now, every day makes a difference. So we're going to stay on course, and we're going to keep building on the progress that we've made so far through the course of this year. We've done a lot in just 2 years, and Kiwis can have great certainty that over the coming year, our government will continue working incredibly hard to realise New Zealand's potential and to help all Kiwis get ahead. In the lead up to the November 7 election, Kiwis will have to weigh up who is best placed to provide stable and strong government in a very volatile and uncertain world. A strong economy with responsible spending, lower taxes and more opportunity for you and your family. Who can provide safer streets, keeping you safe at work, at home and in your community? Who can provide a world-leading education so that your child gets the best possible shot at a better life? And who can provide more affordable housing and quality infrastructure like the roads that National is building around the country, creating the jobs and supporting growth in your community? On November 7, Kiwis get to make their choice. And with that, can I say thank you and happy to take any questions you may have.
Prime Minister, November 7, why did you choose that date?
About 8 of the last 12 elections have been in October, November. Most of our elections have been late October, early November. So, it was when you look at the sort of international events beforehand, when you look at the national events, sporting events, that sort of was the logical time.
Were you pushing it out so that you could have more time to achieve that recovery? You say that each day makes a difference.
Well, I mean, the recovery is up and running in a way, and we think there's a marvellous opportunity for us to help this country realise its potential. We're going to demonstrate more of that through the year. But, practically, there's a couple of dates that you end up looking at when you go through the calendar, and November 7th felt like a really good one.
Giving yourself more time for that recovery to take place will help, though. Do you agree?
Well, I mean, again, most of our elections have been late October, early November over the last, since back to 1990, and, this is no different really. But, the great news is, as I've said in my State of the Nation speech on Monday, we inherited a mess. We've been doing a big turnaround. We've been fixing a lot of the basics. We now have an opportunity as this recovery comes through, not just to watch it come through, but to actually shape the future of this country and to put in place the good long-term reforms that actually will help the country realise its potential and to lift all of our collective living standards.
Were there any concerns, given how long it is until November? This gives ACT and New Zealand First a lot of time to agitate, a lot of time to try and eat into what you're wanting to be doing. Was there any temptation to go earlier and ensure that they don't suck the oxygen in?
No, look, just when you look at the calendar and you weigh up the sporting events, you weigh up what's going on within the country, you look at our international events schedule for the year, you come down to sort of, you get to the late October, early November. I think most commentators kind of came to the same conclusion. For us, as a national party, what we want to make the case for is that we think the strongest, stablest form of government on November 7th to deliver is a national-led government. So we are very proud of what we've achieved so far, but I'm also been signalling, as you saw in my speech on Monday, that we've been following a plan from day one, and we've got to continue to follow our plan and trust our plan. It's been working for us, and you're seeing more of the recovery come through. We want more New Zealanders to feel that over the course of this year. But importantly, we want to get into the work that are actually going to set this country up for some fantastic opportunities in the future, and we're really excited about that because we have the best country on planet Earth, and when you look at all the chaos out there in the world at the moment, there's no reason why New Zealand can't do exceptionally well relative to every other country.
There's a potential for much more chaos this year. I mean, on Monday you sort of spoke that there were green shoots in the economy, the tariffs came in. Given, we've got between now and November, are you sort of concerned that any more of those shocks will come along and take any of that momentum out?
Well, what I was saying on Monday was that, yes, the world's certainly more volatile, more uncertain. I talked about the big shifts that I've seen, and I've spoken about those offshore and in New Zealand before. But in that context, it's about our relative performance compared to other countries. And I just think if you were leading any other country, you'd love to have the opportunity that New Zealand has in front of it, because there's many other countries around the world that are wrestling with a whole bunch of challenges that we aren't encountering, and we have what the world wants. We are a reliable partner. We're seen as having a set of values that most of the world aspires to hold, and actually increasingly we're seen as a country that has ambition and aspiration out there in the world, and that people want to work with us. And that's been my experience over the last 2 years, is that you've seen me hit it really hard out there in the world, build it to deepen those relationships, to raise the relevancy of New Zealand all around the world, so that we create optionality for ourselves and we diversify and develop deeper partnerships.
Are you worried about the length of time the coalition talks might take? You're not leaving much time before Christmas.
No, I'm confident we'll be able to sort that out. We've and as you've seen, we are going to make the case very strongly for a national-led government. We have been able and proven that we can work successfully with both ACT and with New Zealand First, and we're open to working with them again, obviously, post an election. But we want to make the case that the strongest and most stablest form of government will obviously be a very strong party vote for National. I can be clear about the parties we won't work with. It's pretty self-evident. We will not be working with Labor because they created this mess with spend more, tax more, borrow more. We're not going to be working with the Greens. They have a radical left-wing agenda that will only accelerate that spend more, tax more, borrow more. We won't be working with Te Pāti Māori because they've got a separatist agenda. But we're clear about who our partners could possibly be post an election. But the most important thing is we want to maximise the National Party vote.
On that election date, how extensively did you consult your coalition partners on that date?
I informed them yesterday.
And they were all good with the date? They're happy with it? Well, I suppose it's not their decision anyway, but...
I think the Prime Minister just announced the date, November the 7th. I informed them yesterday, and that's what we're going to do.
How committed is National to climate action? Going back to your speech on Monday, you didn't mention climate or emissions once.
Well, we are very committed to climate action, but what we believe is that you can't just have words, you've actually got to follow it up with actions. And we're a government that's actually said through fast-track provisions, through the work that we're doing on the RMA, that we want to accelerate renewables energy investment. We want to be able to make sure we're actually getting things done and advancing climate action. There's a lot of talk in New Zealand, but actually what matters is action and investment. And you're seeing huge amounts of investment go into renewable energy in particular. In the last 18 months, I think more than we've had in the previous 10 years or so, which has been really good. So there's a lot more for us to do, but we're people of action, and we need to also balance economic growth while at the same time protecting our environment.
Will unemployment be below 5% by then?
Well, again, as I've said, when you inherit a situation which is a Labor government that increased spending by 84%, that drove up taxes tremendously, that then tripled the amount of debt that was taken internationally because the spending couldn't be captured with tax take or and had to have more borrowing. One of the consequences of that is you get high inflation, you get high interest rates, economy goes into recession, and as a result people lose their jobs. And the people who lose their jobs are low and middle income working New Zealanders. And so if you care about low and middle income working New Zealanders, you are good stewards and good managers of an economy. And you heard me say that again on Monday, which is that we are going to campaign on being the responsible grown-ups and the adults in the room who understand the economy, who are doing it right by New Zealand and getting our books back in order. And Nicola's doing a fantastic job of leading us through that. And that's a really important thing for us.
So is it not quite?
Sorry?
So not quite 5% by election day?
Well, what I'm saying is that's the last of the effects that comes through. And you've seen already this week, we've seen a lot of positivity. If you think about a 30% growth in construction jobs that we've seen through SEEK. I've seen some of the initial indication of data through Zeal saying that there's a lot more activity and job vacancies being promoted. So the last thing for sure is that we want to see unemployment coming down, and we expect that to happen during the course of the year.
On the plan change, the Auckland plan change, should Aucklanders who are thinking about buying a house, maybe the first house, maybe look to trade up, should they feel confident to buy a house now in Auckland?
Absolutely. I mean, they've got a government that has delivered lower inflation, which in turn has led to 9 interest rate cuts. What we want to see across New Zealand is what we see a lot here in Christchurch, and I think you and I have spoken about that before, which is steady, consistent increases in property values, but actually greater increases in people's wages so that housing becomes more affordable. And in Auckland, as we talked about on Monday, we've been watching very closely the conversation around PC 120. We've said from the beginning in November, December, we're very open. We want the people to submit. We want to hear the feedback. We want to digest that feedback. It's very clear there's strong feedback, and we'll make some changes which we'll announce in due course.
Are you looking to put a floor under the house price crash in Auckland? Do you think, would it be concerning to you if prices fell another 10%, say?
Well, what we want to see is what we see in a market like this, where we actually have really good supply side factors and policy that actually means that housing growth can be added to, the stock of housing growth can be added to. But we want to see steady, consistent increases in prices. What we cannot have is a 30% growth in house prices in a single year and then a 25% collapse in the following year. We want to see steady consistency, but importantly, we need to grow the economy and lift people's wages, because that's actually how they can afford
steady
houses.
consistency would mean that the crash is over in Auckland then?
Well, again, we're putting in place policies that are strategic and around the long term to make sure that we don't get this boom bust that we've experienced in New Zealand over the last 30 years, that actually there is a smarter way of doing it, which is to make sure that we have good master planning and good availability of supply of houses. We want to see steady, consistent growth.
Is Labour National's main competition this election, or is it more ACT and New Zealand First and trying to claw back some of that influence in the coalition?
To be honest, I don't really think too deeply about the other parties. Our focus is on making sure we are delivering for New Zealanders, and they will reward us for that.
But you have been clear that you need if you need more dominance in that coalition. You've said that you're going out for that party vote. So is that where the real competition lies for National, is amongst its coalition?
Well, there's a lot
partners?
of New Zealanders that will ultimately have to get into a polling booth on November the 7th, and they'll be sitting there about the choice that they get to make between the propositions of Labour and National as the major parties in New Zealand that are anchoring a lot of the policy work in any future governments, and they need to make those decisions. And that we are proving to them we can run this economy by lowering inflation, lowering interest rates, and get it growing. We can keep you safer by managing law and order. We're setting your kids up for a great future so they can compete with kids from all over the world and access higher paying jobs. And I think New Zealanders on balance will see that if we keep working hard through the course of the year, that's a good choice. How
significant is it for National to have more influence around that coalition table than those minor parties have this term?
Well, we live in an MMP environment, and as I've kept saying, it's maturing. You cannot have a first past the post mentality in an MMP electoral system. We see that in Western Europe and other parts of the world. For us, obviously, we think we are best placed to deliver the strongest, most stablest form of government with a national-led government and a national government. And so you are going to see us campaigning incredibly strongly, because that's the first order, that we believe a national government would be best in New Zealand's interest.
Does that mean having the ability to keep your coalition partners in? Does that mean having the ability to keep your coalition partners in their lanes?
Well, again, they'll make their cases. Each party will make their case as to why they want New Zealanders to vote for them, and they'll have a set of policies and constituents that they'll be talking to. We are the same. We want to talk to the vast majority of New Zealand. We are a national party, and we want to have a national program of talking to the whole of the country.
You also don't want to be forced into situations like the Treaty Principles Bill, for example, which sucked up a lot of the oxygen. So what's at stake here?
Well, that's why I say to you, job number one is to make sure we maximise the National Party vote and make the case to the New Zealand public as to why that would be the strongest, most stablest form of government. Two, if in an MMP environment, depending upon what the New Zealand people choose, all I've signalled to you is that we are open to working with our partners, ACT and New Zealand First again. I think we've done that well and proven that we can deliver that well. and we certainly won't be working with
Would you
Labor.
be
to
worried
try
We've
to
got a
about
really
manage-
New
clear
Zealand
message for voters on November 7, which is if you want to ensure that you have a national-led government that can keep up the progress we've
Yeah.
been making, party, vote, national.
Would you be worried if New Zealand First got more votes than ACT, given how strong of a negotiator Winston Peters is?
Well, look, again, I'm not. We're getting well ahead of ourselves. You know, we've got a year to go until the election. We've got a lot of work to do between now and then. We're going to get back to the job of governing. I'm giving people certainty and clarity, as I think has been a good convention in New Zealand. But we've got a big year. You know, we've got 1 year of the 3-year term still to deliver, and we're going to make the case for that very strongly. As to what happens after that, you know, that's all hypothetical. And again, my job and what we've proven is that I can make a coalition work if I have
Reshuffle.
to. My preference would be to make sure I maximise the National Party vote.
Reshuffle, is the current caucus the
Sorry.
right line up to take
Sorry.
to the... Is your current caucus the right line up to take to the election, or
Yes.
do you need a reshuffle?
No, it is. And again, as I've said before, I have a slightly different approach from previous Prime Ministers. I don't feel any compunction to go reshuffling for the sake of a reshuffle. If and when I feel that I want to sharpen things up or I want to change things around, I will. But I'll do that at any time.
Have any of your caucus colleagues indicated they'll be retiring, particularly your ministerial lineup?
No, and if they are, they'll announce that to you if and when they do.
Prime Minister, Waitangi Day is a couple of weeks out.
Yep.
Where will you be spending the day?
Again, we'll make our decision. We have a protocol about when we do announce those things for security reasons, obviously. But again, you know, Waitangi Day, very important day, and we'll do that very shortly.
Is there a security risk, sir, given Prime Ministers previously in other years, New Zealand has known where they're going to be on that day well in advance?
Well, as I said, we'll announce that very shortly. But we just have a set of protocols around travel and my schedule that we work to very.
What sort of
But
reception
Waitangi's-
are you expecting at Rationale?
Well, I've always had a very positive reception at Rationale. I've actually really enjoyed Rationale. It's been fantastic. And, again, as I said on Monday, I've been working very closely with iwi leaders over the course, right from day one, actually, in government. And there's a lot that we are aligned around. There's a lot of partnership that we've been doing. If you just think about even this week, Fiordland and the management of some of the estate down there working in partnership with Ngāi Tahu. If you think about the way that we're bringing in iwi businesses to participate in investments in infrastructure, we've got and getting things done. Improving health outcomes, education outcomes. There's a real good alignment between mana motuhake and localism and devolution and what our party's about. Okay, last question, team.
Recently
Sorry.
you said that what is good for everyone is good for Māori.
Yep.
What do you mean by that, and what authority do you have to speak for Māori?
Well, again, all New Zealanders actually want to see rising wages so they can actually have more money in their back pocket so they can get more choices and do more things with their families and more freedoms. All Māori or non-Māori want to make sure that they actually are living in a safe community and they're not disproportionately victims of violent crime. All Māori want to make sure their kids are set up with great educational opportunities so they can access high-paying jobs in the future. That unites all New Zealanders. That's the point I was making. Okay, team, we'll be able to carry on with the rest of our day. Thank you so much. Okay.
Thank you.
Do you guys just want to quickly reset so we can do this and then...